Today on the official Marvel podcast, we'll hear from writer Zeb Wells and director Bryan Andrews about Marvel Animation's Marvel Zombies.
I really love the theme of how much of your humanity can you hold on to when you're fighting for your life at all times. How much joy can you still find and make life meaningful when all of the stuff you used to care about is gone?
Plus, we'll explore the comic book history of Kamala Khan, aka Ms. Marvel.
I'm Sade Spence.
I'm Evan Narcissus.
And this is the official Marvel podcast.
It's almost October, and if you're looking for a scary good time, I've got great news for you. Marvel Animation's Marvel Zombies drops today on Disney+.
Yes, that is right, Evan. Our favorite heroes are zombified, and the gore level is at 11. So I cannot wait to take a bite out of this show.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. I got a chance to speak with writer Zeb Wells and director Bryan Andrews about making this year's spookiest series. Take a listen. Can you guys both introduce yourselves to our listeners and tell them what you do? Bryan, let's start with you.
Yeah, my role on the show was an executive producer and director and helping to come up with the story. And we did that zombie episode earlier with What If and let's do more zombies. So it was like, how do we do that?
Who doesn't like zombies? And Zeb, same for you.
Yeah, I am a writer and came in fairly early. I think Bryan had some ideas or what he wanted it to feel like or a general shape. I came in with a pitch that sort of took all their ideas and made a rough shape, and then we all just beat it up for years. So a writer and an executive producer is a simple way to say that.
Zeb, how is your writing process, would you say, different working on a comic book versus a TV series?
A TV series is different than writing a comic book because there's more interaction with other people. There was a lot of great interaction with Bryan. Bryan is great at expanding action or really going big scale. So there were a few times where I would write a 3-page. I think in the first episode, I had it was a 3 to 5 page assault on a compound where there were 5 zombies assaulting the compound. And then if you see it in the episode, Bryan has turned it into this massive Lord of the Rings-esque battle between thousands of zombies that is epic and incredible. And so that's a similarity, right? Because in comics, you work with an artist, and here Bryan had a vision for what he wanted it to be. So it was working with someone to bring a vision to life, which is fun. You don't feel as alone.
Also, a little bit on that note, what would you say are the similarities and differences between writing for animation versus live action?
With animation, you can convince yourself there's no budgetary constraints, but I think there are. But I do think Bryan found ways to blow through most of those. And it is weird. You do find yourself writing differently, knowing that there's only so much facial expression that an animated character can convey. And they can actually sometimes convey more because you get it right away what the expression is. But it's just a change in nuance in the dialogue that you write, for sure.
And Bryan, we first saw Marvel Zombies on the screen in season 1 of Marvel Animation's What If. Where did the idea really come from to now turn this into a series? And what kind of role did Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios head of television, streaming, and animation Brad Winderbaum have in the return of Marvel Zombies?
The response was good, if not great. And so because the response was good, and Kevin loves himself some zombies, so either he was in Brad's ear being like, we should do more of that, or Brad was in his ear, or they're both at the same time saying, we should do more of that. And they're both nodding, yes, we should. It's like, all right, well, then it's a 4-episode kind of mini event where we follow a particular storyline through from beginning to end, and characters go through some things and stuff like that. So yeah, it's all been pretty exciting.
Zeb, without any spoilers, can you tease also what kind of adventures are these characters going to get into?
It's a really great world-spanning epic adventure. I think that's the best way that I could describe it. The scale is massive. So think epic, think high adventure. Yeah. With zombies and murder.
Awesome. And zombies on a scale of 1 to 10, how gory is this series going to get?
There are moments that are definitely like an 8 or something. I mean, there's some gruesome things that happen, but we don't necessarily like linger and like check it out. What I mean. It serves a point and it has its effect, and we move on to a certain degree. But we're trying to do it as filmmakers, not as just gore fest.
So, Zeb, can you also share what are some of the themes that were very important for you to incorporate throughout the series?
I really love the theme of how much of your humanity can you hold on to when you're fighting for your life at all times? How much joy can you still find? How much of the stuff that makes us human can still bubble up to the surface and make life meaningful when all of the stuff you used to care about is gone? So I think you have a situation where you get to see these characters in the most extreme situations you've seen them in. And as a result, you get to see their characters shine. Who are they when everything else is stripped away? And I think was really fun and compelling to play in.
Sounds like it's going to be a ride. Bryan, the show has an incredible cast, really, from what we know already. Iman Vellani, Awkwafina, Simu Liu, Elizabeth Olsen, Florence Pugh, many more. Can you talk a little bit about working with them and what they're bringing to their characters?
They're all so great, and they all bring so much to it. David Harbour is like amazing, and he's so funny, and he does so good, and his stuff is so great. And Florence, she's an incredible actress, and she gets what we were trying to do in certain moments and certain scenes. And, it's funny because I think we recorded David before we recorded her. And there are some scenes that he was able to play a certain way. So having that in my mental bank, I could then pitch some of that stuff to Florence. You want to do something like this? And she's like, oh, yeah. And then she can roll with it, which is great. And then same thing, we recorded Simu before we recorded Florence. And he had some interesting ideas that would make sense for Florence to know and possibly play off of. So that was pretty fun, just seeing and enjoying what they bring to the table, as always. They bring it just as much for ours as they do for any of the other projects, and that's awesome.
What are you both most excited for fans to see when the show premieres?
There's just such cool stuff in every episode. There's at least 2 massive set pieces, and then a bunch of little bits in between that I just cannot wait for people to see.
When we're making the thing, certain moments will stand out, obviously. Is this a toss your popcorn moment where people are like, wow, whether they think it's awesome or whether they think they're shocked or whatever, it's going to be a reaction. We're going to get something from the audience at blah moment and then another one at blah moment. I just can't wait for those reactions to hit. And do they react the way that we were hoping for, right? Is it going to play the way we think it's going to play? I really look forward to that. I hope people dig it.
Also, can you share a little bit about any inspiration behind the style of animation, Bryan?
Since it's a continuation of something that happened in a What If episode, it's the What If style, like the style that we kind of changed ever so slightly into second season, third season. We upped it a little bit. So we kept that going for this. And the inspiration just came from like old school American illustrators, mainly like J.C. Leyendecker, who drew and painted his illustrations. The people in there just seem so iconic, heroic, gorgeous, beautiful. They're like Ryan Meinerding, who's also a fan of Leyendecker, who helped us design some of the initial look and feel of the characters, and that all carries over.
That's Ryan Meinerding, head of visual development and character design on the show.
He loves Leyendecker for that reason, that they already feel like heroes. It feels like he's already drawing them in a slightly accentuated fashion. It's like they look amazing. So borrowing a bit of that and putting our own slight spin on it was basically where the inspiration for the look came from. And because it's, zombies, there's a lot of stuff that's like moody and dark. So I like really playing with light and the lack thereof, letting things fall off into darkness as opposed to some animation that may be like, everything's lit, like we gotta see everything. It's like, no, turn more lights off in this. And we had an amazing team and they all did fantastic all across the board. So I think we achieved a lot of cool looking stuff.
That's neat. Awesome. And I also want to touch on even a little bit of both of your histories. Do you remember how you were introduced to Marvel Comics and characters?
I think the first thing I got was an Incredible Hulk coloring book that my dad got me. And then a year later, we lived in a house in Manhattan, Kansas, And we had some college students living in the basement. And when they left, one of them left me a box of comics behind. It was awesome. And I just devoured them and gravitated towards the Marvels. And I think Giant Size Spider-Man #1, which was the introduction of the Sinister Six, was the one I read the most. And it was just game over after that.
Yeah, way back when, whether it's a parent gets it for, I don't know how we ended up with some comic, but remember like a big Spider-Man that had like, whether it was the first appearance, like it was like a compendium of certain issues in one big thing that had like Electro's first appearance, Mysterio's, it's kind of what Zeb's talking about, the Sinister Six or whatever. And so I'd be like, ooh, this is great. And then I had another large size, like one-off, like comic magazine thing where Hulk fights Namor. And I thought that was like so awesome. I was so young. But my takeaway was just like, it felt like the whole comic was just them fighting like across the United States. Like someone would get punched and they would just like seemingly go across the state. And I was like, this is incredible. And then it kept going from there. It's like more Spider-Man comics. Then the 1970s version of the Micronauts came out, Michael Golden's Micronauts with Marvel. The Marvel comics just, yeah, they were the thing.
Well, it was really awesome. And thank you both for sharing your histories with Marvel Comics, and then also sharing what's to come with Marvel Zombies. Is there anything else you would like to add?
I will add, I'm just gonna go on record here. You watch this Marvel Zombies, you will not be disappointed. I literally cannot wait for people to see it, to see what Bryan and his team have done. It is just so chock full of fun, epic moments that you're gonna get your money's worth. That's a Zeb Wells guarantee.
I'll leave you with this. Our other character designer that was working with us, Josh, because Ryan's working on all the movies. He can't do all the stuff. So Josh kind of took over for Zombies. And he emailed me and he was just like very glowing and very like just super nerding out going, I love this show. And he's worked on the animation stuff. He's worked on live action. He's worked on all this stuff. He's like, this is the best thing Marvel's done. Like, that's him nerding. He's just going, I swear, man, to me, this is the best thing Marvel's done. Live action animation doesn't matter. This is the best. I love this thing. I'm so happy I was on it. I'm like, wow, that's awesome, dude. Thanks. I really hope people think the same.
Yeah, that's so cool to hear. We get that feedback. And it's really exciting for all of us over here to hear that as well. So thank you so much again for sharing.
Thank you, Sade.
Thank you.
Sade, do you consider yourself a superhero fan?
I think the fact that I'm co-hosting the official Marvel podcast is a pretty good indicator that, yes, I am definitely a fan.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, here's what I really want to talk about. Like, let's think about how cool it would be if we, as Marvel superfans, actually developed superpowers of our own.
Oh, I would love that, Evan, especially because I would look really awesome in a cape.
Yeah, I second that emotion. The scenario that we're talking about is literally the story of Kamala Khan, the superfan who became a superhero. In most ways, Kamala starts off as a pretty typical teenager. She's part of a Pakistani-American immigrant family, goes to high school in Jersey City, trying to keep her grades up and make her parents proud.
When she's not writing Avengers fanfic, that is, or hanging posters of her faves all over her bedroom walls, especially her idol, Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel.
Enter the Inhumans, a race of beings who get superpowers from a strange substance known as Terrigen Mist. Well, unbeknownst to Kamala, she is part Inhuman, and when she's unwittingly exposed to the Terrigen Mists,
boom!
Dun dun dun!
Powers! Kamala suddenly has the ability to stretch her limbs to ludicrous lengths. She can shapeshift and alter her appearance and grow to enormous sizes. Sometimes she can even combine these powers, which is super cool. So you get like the long arm, giant fist, clobber 'em all over the head move. She also comes up with one of the greatest battle cries of all time, Embiggen.
It's definitely become a classic. So when a person like Kamala gets powers like this, what are they gonna do? That's right, it's hero time. Kamala instantly becomes Jersey City's protector.
Which, is great because New York shouldn't be allowed to hog all the heroes.
Yeah, they're definitely over-indexed in Manhattan, for sure. Kamala models herself after her personal idol, Captain Marvel, even using the lightning bolt motif from Carol's costume on her own, and taking the codename formerly used by Danvers, Ms. Marvel.
At first, she reveals her secret only to her longtime best friend.
An unrequited crush.
That's right, Bruno Corelli, who happens to be something of a tech wizard, and he makes a perfect man-behind-the-scenes sidekick.
Ms. Marvel makes a name for herself in no time. She's keeping Jersey City safe, not just from muggers and convenience store robbers, but also much more powerful threats like the terrorist organization Hydra. As you might imagine, this attracts the attention of some other heroes, which leads to Kamala getting some one-on-one combat training from the likes of Wolverine and, wait for it, Captain Marvel herself.
Suffice it to say, a lot of geeking out takes place at this time, and rightfully so. But the dream come true doesn't stop there. Ms. Marvel gets an official invitation to join the Avengers, alongside fellow newbies Miles Morales, aka Spider-Man, and Sam Alexander, aka Nova. Kamala Khan becomes one of the youngest ever members of the world's premier super team.
Ironically, it's not quite the dream job she'd always imagined. After a time, Sam, Miles, and Kamala become disillusioned because they'd like to see more help go to the people who get caught up in the wake of superhuman battles. So, they quit the Avengers, and along with other teen heroes Amadeus Cho, aka Brawn, Viv Vision, and Riri Williams, aka Ironheart, form their own team called the Champions.
Trouble eventually comes for the Champions when a dragon attacks Kamala's high school, and she calls in her teammates for help. Though the Champions win the battle, an explosion puts Kamala, still in her civilian garb, into a coma.
In an ironic twist, the news media paints Kamala Khan as a victim of reckless teen superheroes, which then results in the passing of Kamala's Law, legislation that makes it illegal for anyone under the age of 21 to engage in superhero activities. Ultimately, it is an impassioned speech from Kamala herself, fresh from her coma, that leads to the law's repeal.
Meanwhile, in her personal life, Kamala professes her love to Bruno. But Bruno then gets seriously injured in one of Ms. Marvel's super battles, and he's not sure if he's ready for this. Bruno ends up bidding farewell to Kamala and heads overseas to study advanced technology at a university in Wakanda.
With Bruno gone, Kamala decides to ditch the States for a while herself, flying to Pakistan to spend time with relatives in Karachi. While there, she of course winds up donning her Ms. Marvel outfit to stop a few crimes and finds herself teaming up with local Pakistani hero Red Dagger, who is very clearly into her and flirts pretty much non-stop.
When her stay in Karachi ends, Kamala flies home to Jersey City. And who do you think she runs into there?
I'm going to take a wild guess and say Red Dagger?
Ding, 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 you are correct. After a few team-ups on her home turf, Red Dagger gives Kamala her first ever kiss. Just when it seems love has finally found Kamala, life throws another complication into the picture. Bruno returns from Wakanda. Red Dagger returns to Pakistan, and even though it doesn't happen right away, Kamala and Bruno eventually share a first kiss of their own. They decide that it's best for them to remain just friends though, for the time being anyway. Kamala starts classes at Empire State University in Manhattan and gets an internship working for scientist Peter Parker.
That's the original Spider-Man, FYI.
I'm pretty sure we all know that one, Evan. Anyway, neither of them knows the other's alternate identity at first, but it becomes increasingly suspicious that Ms. Marvel starts showing up to help out during so many of Spidey's villain battles. During one of those battles, when an evil god is hunting down Spidey's loved ones, Peter asks Kamala to protect his on-again, off-again girlfriend, Mary Jane Watson. And in one tragic moment while protecting Mary Jane, Ms. Marvel pays the ultimate price. She is stabbed through the heart and killed.
Everybody listening, hold on, don't cry. She does get better. See, unbeknownst to her, Kamala is also a mutant.
Yeah, so if you're thinking, wait, isn't she an Inhuman? Yes, she's both. And she was completely unaware of being both, though someone very important was aware of Kamala's mutant status. Professor X of the X-Men.
And at the time of Kamala's death, the X-Men and a massive amount of Earth's mutants had established their own mutant nation on the island of Krakoa. And more importantly, they'd worked out a system to resurrect mutants. So, Professor X brings Kamala back to life on Krakoa. and officially fills her in on the fact that she's both part Inhuman and part mutant, which I have to say is a lot to take in.
Oh, absolutely. And you know all those cool things Kamala can do? The stretching and growing and shape-shifting, those are just her Inhuman powers. Her mutant powers haven't even kicked in yet. Her resurrection comes at a bad time too, because she gets brought back right before the anti-mutant terrorist group Orchis attacks and destroys Krakoa. But she officially joins the X-Men and helps them in their fight against Orchis, which is ultimately successful.
Nowadays, Kamala has returned to her studies at Empire State University and spends her free time at a Manhattan club for young mutants called NYX, and her mutant power has finally manifested. Ms. Marvel can manipulate hard light and use it to create anything she wants. Instantly need a shield wall or floating steps? Kamala can conjure that right up for you.
That lady has a lot of powers.
She sure does. Though one of her biggest recent victories was won with words, when a hate group called the Truth Seekers started stirring up anti-mutant sentiment across New York City, the city council came frighteningly close to passing a law that would force NYC's mutant citizens into segregated ghettos. But after an impassioned speech by Kamala, the bill was defeated.
You know, I think giving impassioned speeches may be Ms. Marvel's greatest power.
Yeah, it's a really good one to have in your back pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like all that inspiring fanfic Kamala wrote really paid off. On this day in 1968, the Guardians of the Galaxy made their first appearance in Marvel Superheroes number 18. Not Star-Lord, Rocket Raccoon, Groot, or any of the Guardians you might be familiar with though. I'm talking about Charlie 27, Vance Astro, Martin X, and Yondu, the first group of intergalactic heroes to call themselves the Guardians of the Galaxy. In the story written by Arnold Drake and illustrated by Gene Colan, the super strong, super smart Charlie 27 returns to his home planet of Jupiter, only to discover that the brutal reptilian-like species known as the Badoon have taken over. In an effort to save his home, he bands together with Vance Astro, the telekinetic Earthling who was in suspended animation for 1,000 years. Martin X, an alien from Pluto with a crystalline exterior and powers that allow him to beam heat and ice. And Yondu, the blue-skinned Centurion pilot and professional thief. They formed the very first iteration of the Guardians of the Galaxy. The Guardians of the Galaxy have gone through many changes over the years. Starting as an eclectic group born out of necessity, its members have included Rocket, Gamora, Groot, Star-Lord, Mantis, Adam Warlock, the telepathic space dog Cosmo, the energy-blasting hero Starhawk, and the list goes on and on and on. The ragtag crew have gone on to grace screens in the MCU and steal our hearts. Too cheesy? Well, I think Star-Lord would approve. Next week on the official Marvel podcast, we'll hear from Marvel's Deadpool VR lead designer Phil Therian and animation director Matt Schmitz on what players can look forward to in the game.
Deadpool can lose limbs, but you can still keep going. And Deadpool can hurt himself pretty bad and still keep kicking. And that's actually part of how you solve things in the game.
That's it for this episode. If you haven't already, make sure to leave us a review wherever you're listening. It helps other Marvel fans find the show.
Yep, it sure does. And make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an episode.
This episode was hosted by Evan Narciss and myself, Sade Spence.
Our producers are Jasmine Estrada and Anita Flores, with additional writing from Christopher Healy.
With help from Senior Manager of Audio Production and Development, Brad Barton, and Production Manager, Emily Godfrey.
Mixed by Emma Munger.
Theme music by Ida Akbal.
Executive producers are Larissa Rosen and Jesse Berger.
Thanks for listening. See you next week.